discussion, as it is through your ideas and actions that we can collectively work towards a sustainable future. Let us use this platform to not only deepen our understanding of the crisis at hand, but also to inspire meaningful action. As a learning community, Moyna College is committed to fostering awareness, promoting dialogue, and instilling a sense of responsibility towards our environment, language, and culture. Thank you, and let us embark on this intellectual journey together. Thanks.
Thank you very much, sir, for your valuable speech. You just tell that the topic is really alarming, and also it is one type of code. Thank you very much, sir. Next, I would like to request the IQAC coordinator, Dr. Sumit Manna, to deliver his speech regarding this topic.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of IQAC, I would like to welcome our today's guest speaker, Professor Dr. Apurva Saha, Professor Department of English, Shirupanu University, and Dr. Kanak Kantibera, Associate Professor and HOD, Department of English, Moyna College. Welcome, sir. And thank you for giving us the time for the today's discussion. It is a very much essential and very much relevant topic, that is the crisis on the ecological imbalance and our language and culture. So actually, if we count the ecology in ecological perspective, what we know actually ecology. What is ecology? Ecology comes from two terms, that is oikos and logos. Oikos means home, and logos means study. That means study of our home. Here the home is the place, the area in which a species is subjected, or live, or dwell, or perform their research. So Hutchinson, during the year 1965, he actually depicted what is ecological means. That means a multi-dimensional hypervolume. He provided multi-dimensional hypervolume concept, where different dimensions actually the different factors which a species is accessing from its environment, which will to live and to reproduce. We know human arose in this world around 60,000 years ago, and where biodiversity surrounding us is the product of 3.5 billion years of evolution. 3.5 billion years of evolution, and it took place very slowly and gradually with the changing environmental condition. Thousands of species arrived and extinct with the consequence of that time. Recently, it was studied that the rate of the change of these n number of factors which we are actually accessing in the environment is too fast, and the consequence of that species loss is also faster. Our world have already faced 5 mass extinction. We know what is mass extinction. That means a huge number of species when lost from this world due to some specific reason. And we know that some mass extinction have already happened during the time of Jurassic period, where dinosaurs have been abolished, and last mass extinction has been happened during the Ice Age. We know that. And we are actually approaching for the 6th mass extinction, and it was well predicted that the human race is the main reason, or the brain, or the thinking, or the activity of the human race is the main reason of this mass extinction. And human being will be assumed to be the most affected of that. So we are actually approaching towards the 6th mass extinction due to our activities, and through which we are suffered for that. We will suffer for that. It is much more compared to the other species. So it is the time to think what we have to do. Actually, the change is not only happening to the environment, but also in our traditional culture, which is also associated or more prominent in the era of globalization. If we visit to some Santal villages, anybody visits to some Santal villages, Lora villages, many more tribal areas are there in our eastern lateral part of West Bengal. You can see that their traditional rituals, cultures, practice, taboos, everything is changing slowly and gradually due to that globalization. We know already we have already lost a huge amount of traditional knowledge and culture in recent days, like different type of crops. We have near about 5,000 type of rice variety. All are varieties at type. So 5,000 type of rice varieties, and we know that what is its actual use. Some rice is very much specific for preparation of khoi. Some is used to prepare of muri. Few rice like good muri, they told that if you used to consume its boiled rice, it will provide you sufficient minerals and nutrients. We are actually losing all these information, all this data due to this globalization. So, like crops, culture, and language are getting monotypic. Okay, monotypic, which cause the extinction of our traditional knowledge and biodiversity related knowledge. And like the lotic system of any river, if it is blocked by a barrage, if you block the river with a barrage, the water will dissipate. So, like this, we have already lost a different use pattern of different biodiversity resources, which is associated with our traditional culture, myth, and taboos. Many knowledge is associated with the traditional practice and worship, like Itu Puja, like Nolbada Sankranti. Okay, so if we just see the Nolbada Sankranti, that is a traditional practice generally happens in the place of Lower Bengal during the during that period when these rice getting matured. When during the cultivation, the harvesting period of rice, a traditional practice was there where a stick of this knoll species was plotted in some farmers' ground or the agricultural areas where few species are placed there, which are actually attract different birds to sit there and to eat different insects that which increase during that period in the agricultural field. So it is very much scientific, we know, and we are all losing this type of practice, this type of culture due to the course of time or due to this ecological imbalance, which is actually going on too faster. So nowadays, our government have constituted NBA, National Biodiversity Authority, and every state have state biodiversity board, and every block have BMC, Biodiversity Management Committee. And one of the foremost, actually, this three-tier system is made based on the Biodiversity Act 2002, and the main and foremost work or function of the BMC, Biodiversity Management Committee of each block, is the preparation of PBR, People's Biodiversity Register, which is actually, what is this? It is actually the document in the local language, the document of landscape, lifescape, timescape. That means what type of price, what type of plants, what type of information was during that time, during 30 or 40 years ago, and how much it is changing, and what is its changing pattern. Everything is documented in local language. So if we prepare a PBR from Birbhum or preparing a PBR village which is dominated by the Santal, then the document should be in Alchiki language. Likewise, on the basis of local language, we are preparing these type of documents, which is very much essential and good. I think it is a good approach to document all this information which are losing day by day due to course of time or due to this erosion of culture or erosion or this ecological imbalance. So hope today's discussion, after today's discussion, we will synthesize it in a meaningful way, and we'll try to draw some solution so that we can restrict, we can protect, we can preserve our traditional knowledge, traditional culture, practice, so that we are very much rich related to this. So I think we will discuss it on a vigorous way in this today's discussion. Again, I would like to thank our principal sir for his glorious presence in this forum. I would like to thank the teachers who are present now in this 91 people present now. So I would like to show my gratitude and thanks to all the participants who are present in this discussion session. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shumit Babu, for your valuable speech. We are really delighted just to listen your lecture. Now I request our Honorable HOD Suttorai Das, and he will say the introductory address of the webinar. So start kindly.
Good evening, everybody. Am I audible?
Yes.
Am I audible? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Good evening. Good evening, everybody. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome the distinguished speakers, all the participant colleagues, and our dear students. I see some students and researchers from institutions other than our own college have joined this webinar. I heartily greet all, welcome them all. The topic of our webinar is the crisis of ecological imbalance and our language and culture. Ecological imbalance, environmental pollution, climate change, all these issues have been hot topics of discussion now over the year. Since 1972, our leaders from all over the globe have participated in world conferences to address the problem of environmental degradation. A few days ago, G20 summit has been conducted in our New Delhi, where green development was on the top of the agenda priorities. But how far we have progressed in these long 51 years since 1972 is a million-dollar question indeed. In the last 30 years, India has ranked the second highest for the rate of deforestation after losing nearly 1.5 crore acres of forest area. In the whole world, 104 crore acres of forest area has been destroyed. Indigenous people are losing their original habitats. Human activities like burning of fossil fuels and deforestation have resulted in the increase of temperature of the atmosphere. Glaciers are melting and seawater level is rising day by day. For an example, glaciers in the Garhwal Himalaya in India are retreating so fast that researchers are anxious that most central and eastern Himalayan glaciers would virtually disappear by 2035. Arctic sea ice has thinned significantly over the past 50 years. As a result, in the last half century, seawater level has risen to a considerable measure. People in islands and coastal areas are the worst affected. Island nations in Fiji, Kiribati, or Vanuatu are under serious threat. There are also some islands in India too, which are under serious threat. In recent years, all over the globe, cyclones, droughts, and other natural calamities have been frequent. It was only yesterday that Milidhi struck the coast of Bangladesh. Communities are wiped out or dislocated by natural calamities. If a community is destroyed, their language is also destroyed. If a community has to migrate from its original habitat, they have to live among people speaking other languages. It becomes difficult for the migrant people of minority language and culture to save their original language and to preserve their original culture. Because of deforestation, the indigenous people have to migrate from the original habitats. Their traditional way of life gets lost. They cannot preserve their language and culture. Most of us nowadays quite aware of the fact that ecological imbalance, environmental pollution, or climate change, all these have posed threat to our life and health. But what seems to be surprising to many of us is that ecological imbalance is posing a threat to our language and culture. Recently, I visited the website of United Nations. I came across the warning of the President of the 74th session of United Nations General Assembly. He cautioned us that every 2 weeks, at least one indigenous language vanishes, leading to the extinction of 2 languages each month. This is an average rate of the extinction of languages. We are losing them forever. Very surprisingly, the cause is ecological imbalance and the resultant climate change and the change of the traditional ways of life. the communities of indigenous people disappear or they lose their original habitats and we lose their language and culture. So we should do whatever we can to save our environment, to save the rich tapestry of languages and cultures of the world. In our webinar, we have here two knowledgeable experts who will shed light on how language and culture are related to ecology and how the ecological imbalance is affecting our language and culture. Professor Dr. Apurva Saha, Professor of English, Sidhu Kanu Birsa University, had studied and researched in linguistics in the English and Foreign Languages University, Hyderabad. He has researched in the area of cultural studies in Viswabharati, and he is the director of Center for Endangered Languages in Sidhu Kanu Birsa University in Purulia. He is an honorary professor and advisor in Green University of Bangladesh, Dhaka. And Dr. Konak Kantibera, associate professor and head of the Department of English, Panchkuda Bonamali College Autonomous, had studied and conducted research in acoustic phonetics and English communication in the institutes like University of Hyderabad, English and Foreign Languages, Hyderabad, and Indian Institute of Technology, Guwahati. He is currently teaching as guest faculty at the Department of Linguistics in University of Kolkata and at the Department of English in Vidyasagar University. I hope that our honorable speakers will enlighten us about different issues related to the topic of today's webinar. Everyone is eagerly waiting for the presentations by our resource persons. So let us go over to our resource persons now. Thank you, everyone.
Satya sir, I hope I am the first speaker, right?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, so all of you, very good evening. And I would like to thank the organizers of this webinar. Especially, I would like to thank Satyaranjan Das because of his painstaking efforts to organize this in collaboration with IQAC Moyna College. And I would like to thank all others, including Principal Moyna College and IQAC coordinator and one and all. Especially the students I would like to thank because you have joined this and the number of the participants have crossed already 100, I guess. So without wasting any more time, let us go to our talk. And in this talk, I would like to first introduce the key concepts like our culture, ecology, language diversity, and all. Then, after having some theoretical knowledge about all these concepts, then we would try to look things from outside and inside. We would take up some empirical evidences that have been actually used by the other researchers. So my talk would be based upon many of the previous researches already done on this particular topic. And I would by no means claim that everything I'm going to speak about, it is my own research output. This is not the fact actually. Okay, we would try to understand the thing and we would look at many empirical instances and we try to understand the thing. So I would use the PPT. I hope everyone can have a look at the screen very carefully, and whenever you need, you can enlarge the point to see it better, okay, to have a better view. So let me present my screen, then we would start discussing things. Okay, so please go to my screen. I am sharing with you. Yeah. So is it okay? Can you everyone just see my screen? Okay. Thank you very much. You know, your screen can be enlarged just with the fingertips, right? So in the slide number 1, I have put the number on every slide so that I can refer very easily to each and every slide. You can follow this way. So slide number 1 has just given you some picture that is very useful to understand the relationship or interrelationship among ecology with the human beings, our society, our culture, and language. Here we can see the bigger circle. Actually, it is for ecology, and within this bigger circle we have other things. That means all are interrelated. Almost all are interrelated. Nothing is actually isolated. And our ecology has many other things other than humans, like animals, plants, and etc., etc. And we human beings have our society. Then within the society, we always follow some cultural norms, and our language is obviously one of the ingredients of our culture. I repeat, our language is, of course, one of the major ingredients of our culture. So language and culture, they are not to be separated by any watertight demarcation line. Rather, our language is very much within the culture. Then go to the next slide, please. Nowadays, we have much talk about ecology and linguistic diversity. Here, we have seen in the recent past the emergence of a new branch of study, that is ecolinguistics or language ecology. We can understand the key concepts of this branch of study. It is just a new branch of linguistics that is supposed to investigate the role of language in the development and possible solution of ecological and environmental problems. So this definition has been taken up from Phil 1993. Hello.
Sir, slide is not seen.
Let me check
Some
this.
technical.
There is some technical defect.
Now is it visible?
No, it's not visible.
No.
স্যার আরেকবার মানে শেয়ারটা আরেকবার করুন, এটাকে অফ করে দিয়ে, তাহলে হবে।
Yeah, let me try. Is anything visible, sir?
Yes, sir. Visible.
Yes, it's visible.
Yeah, I am always scared of all these technical matters. I am not an expert in all these things. Okay, so so let us hope that there will be no more glitch. Right. So this is a simple definition offered by Phil. This is about language ecology. It is the study of preservation of the linguistic diversity. In our discourse on this ecolinguistics, actually linguistic diversity is at the very center of our discussion. Linguistic diversity. What is diversity? Diversity, that means differences. It's uniquenesses or singularities. And another slide number 3, it has given some more information. This is taken up from Hodgen, 1970. He defined language ecology as the study of interaction between any given language and its environment. So we would concentrate on culture and language. That is why our concept of language ecology should be very much clear. And right from the beginning, we have just stressed upon the point that language is just a part of, ingredient of our culture. I hope everything is visible, right? Problems is happening.
না স্যার আবার দেখা যাচ্ছে না।
Invisible.
Oh,
Abhijit will try it. Abhijit.
Okay sir, I am sharing this.
Yeah,
You can stop
because
your
I
sharing,
was
sir.
really.
Okay.
I am just stopping my presentation. You
Okay,
please help me out.
Okay.
No, Abhijit will help you. I have shared the file with him, and he will share it.
Yeah. I was really anxious about this thing. That is why I sent it to you so that you can share and just do it
Yes,
for.
yes, I have already
all.
shared it with him.
Okay, Abhijit sir, you are presenting on my behalf, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, and you please you please go to slide number 4. Slide number 4.
Okay.
In the earlier slides, we have just looked at the different definitions about language ecology. Okay, there the emphasis is on the interrelationship between the environment and language. And let me just clarify the point here. This interconnection is actually a two-way traffic. That means language affects environment and environment affects language. So it is never a one-way traffic. Okay, so in slide number 4, we have come to the main point, that is about the impact of the loss of environmental balance or ecological balance on the language. The ultimate outcome of this kind of imbalance may be the language loss. Okay, we have the environment, our habitat, then we have many hazards like earthquakes, like storm waves, okay, like war, even man-made war. So many different things could happen in our society. Then we would have social and natural life to be affected. Environmental diversity would change. Then it would put some adverse impact on our culture, our existence of linguistic diversity. Then the worst sufferer would be the minority languages, because they have to just survive, struggling with so many odds. Okay, so the minority language is at the danger always to die out. So finally, the environmental imbalance would cost a language. So it will lead to the extinction of a language. This is the vicious cycle actually. Of course, so this schemata has been borrowed from Molhausler, 2002. He conducted a study in Indonesia. He conducted his research on different ethnic groups who were living in isolation with their minority languages, and how actually with the migration they had to migrate to different places, and because of their migration, they had to come in contact with the other languages, other language communities, and their language always came to be a super straight language. That is why they had to die out. Okay, now after having some knowledge about our ecolinguistics or linguistic ecology, we have now come to slide number 5 that has given us some information about the linguistic diversity and culture. From slide number 1, that has been re-quoted here. The slide number 1 has been again presented here in a shorter form, showing the relationship between or among ecology, culture, and language. So these are the 3 key points we are now concerned with, and how they are interconnected, how actually ecology is connected to the language. This has been given here in a very short form. Language is one of the core ingredients of culture that we have already talked about. Okay, so culture is very much entwined with language. Language is entwined with culture, and the influence is a two-way traffic that also we have referred to. And language means words, phrases, expressions, sentences, and we should rather start from sound system, phonetic level. That is the point from where we should study the language. Okay, we would come just a little later, we would come to those points, how language actually has been changing at the linguistic, at the phonetic level also. Anyway, so words, phrases, and expressions we use, these actually contain our accumulated wisdom, values, beliefs, and experiences. That means language is an ingredient or part of our culture, because our language, our words, our sentences, they only convey our wisdom, our knowledge, our beliefs, and all these things. The way we communicate is a mark of our cultural heritage. That means language use is a product of culture. I repeat, language use, how we are using the language, actually it is the thing we have inherited from our cultural heritage. And diversity, what does it mean? Language diversity. Diversity means its singularity, its differences from any other language. This is diversity. Okay, diversity doesn't necessarily mean any change. Change is alternation. That is not the thing to be meant by diversity. Diversity means only the differences, how one language is different from the other language. These points of differences are called diversity. Okay, so language diversity means dependable mark of cultural identity of the language users. That means if my language, the language of my community is different from any other language of other community, that means my language, its use, its norms, its grammar, its everything, these are the marks of our cultural identity. So language use actually is a cultural phenomenon. And language loss means loss of knowledge, loss of history, loss of culture. So language loss, that means if I cease to use anymore my mother tongue because some other major language is being spoken in the community, in the larger society. So in this context, if being an ethnic group member and being an user of my mother tongue, if I stop using this anymore, then it would actually mean the loss of knowledge, history, and culture. Okay, so please come to slide number 6. Now, linguistic diversity, actually we would be talking in this talk, we will be talking about diversity and culture and language. Linguistic diversity, culture, and language. So these are the 3 key concepts that are to be always thrown light upon in our talk now. So diversity, good or bad? This is the controversial question, whether linguistic diversity is good or bad. In our India, we have diversity in our linguistic uses, but in many other countries like China, they have very little diversity. I don't say that there is no diversity at all in China who are using Mandarin, but still I must say that in China we have much less linguistic diversity compared to our India. Okay, now the question is whether India is fortunate to have linguistic diversity or China is more fortunate to have very little diversity. So this is the question, whether linguistic diversity good or bad. So we have to understand actually diversity. What is diversity? Diversity, that means linguistic diversity, of course. It is constituted of differences, uniquenesses. We have already just discussed this. And these differences and uniquenesses contribute to the making of our cultural identity. Cultural identity. Okay, so this cultural identity actually is constituted of many ingredients, and linguistic diversity is one of them. Loss of linguistic diversity, আমার ভাষার নিজস্বতা যদি হারিয়ে ফেলি, that means it would mean a loss of my chunk of cultural diversity. I don't mean that whole cultural diversity would be lost, but a significant chunk of cultural diversity would be lost. So another question is here, where is ecology in this saga? That means we are talking about linguistic diversity, whether it is good or bad. Then where is ecology exactly? Where is the room for ecology in this discussion? Okay, so to understand this, how actually our language, linguistic diversity, all these concepts are related to ecology, we have to understand other questions like what results in linguistic diversity. We have just defined linguistic diversity and how they are connected to our culture, cultural identity. So this point we have already clarified. But actually, what are the sources of this diversity? And second question we have to also understand, is there any threat to linguistic diversity? Is there any threat at present? This is a very obvious question. It is very much tangible. Other speakers already, the introductory speakers already have just touched upon this point, how it has a threat actually. This linguistic diversity or linguistic cultural identity is at threat now. Now the third question that we should also understand, what to look to for promoting linguistic diversity. If linguistic diversity is good, because linguistic diversity is good, our prominent answer is like this, because linguistic diversity is a part of our cultural diversity or cultural identity. So in this sense, of course, linguistic diversity, linguistic singularity, this is very important. Okay, how to promote? What should be our steps or the governmental measures, how we can promote linguistic diversity? Because already it has been pointed out by the speakers that we are facing a time when many of the languages are dying out. Okay, every month some 2 or 3 languages are dying out. So we need to promote linguistic diversity and we need to take measures so that the dying languages would be revived. So please come to slide number 7. Here some more points actually have been raised to explain how ecology is connected to language. So this is the point. The question I have already put, that was, where is the room of ecology here in this discussion on culture and language? So where is ecology? How is it connected to our language? How is it connected to our culture? From the first slide, we have got some idea, but here we would have some deeper look at the question. Ecology focuses. What is ecology? Ecology, the students, you should be very cautious about the term ecology, because ecology is not only environment, it is not climate, it is not weather. What is ecology then? Our distinguished teachers already have pointed out, even with the references to the etymology of ecology, it is the discussion about the home, right? It is a philosophy about home, ecology. That means ecology would study, would focus on the relationship between we, the living organisms, not only humans. We have insects, we have birds, we have animals, right? Uh, so all these living organisms are having their habitats, right? They are living on this earth in a habitat. So what is the connection? What is the connection between these organisms and their habitat? So this is the point where ecology put its focus on. Okay, so ecology is just a study of the connection between living beings and their habitat, right? And this kind of connection is often endangered by many natural calamities or by man-made events like war, okay, explosion of bombs. So many things are there to disrupt our connection, this connection between the living organisms and the habitat, the environment. Okay, so many forces are there to disrupt. So ecology is very much there in the study of language, because language is the medium of intracultural as well as intercultural interaction. That is very tangible thing, right? Everybody is using the language. Every one of us is using the language, and we are communicating within our culture and to other cultural members also, right? So it is a medium of expression intraculturally or interculturally. Fine, very simple thing. And innate relationship is there between climate and biology. Okay, but our language is not any biological product. That is the point. So innate relationship is between climate, environment, and biology, right? We can understand. As for example, we can look at the Europeans who have fair skin complexion, right? The golden hair, golden locks of hair. But in some other climate, in the climate of African countries, that is not possible. Okay, skin complexion must be different. The texture of the hair would be different. So naturally, we can understand that some innate relationship is between climate and biology, right? But the problem is that our language is not biological. Language is not a biological product. Our human language. Animal language may be. Animal calls and cries, they may be biological product. But our human language is an acquired phenomenon, right? We have acquired it. We learn it. We learn it from our mothers, from our people, from our relatives. We acquire the language. So it is an acquired skill. Now, just try to think or judge or try to explain to your own, like language, right? Then how it can be affected too much by the ecology, by the environment, by the hazards in nature. Is it possible? My acquired skill. Okay. So this is one issue that we should really concentrate on in our future study about human language, culture, and our ecology, right? Okay. So relationship between climate and language is not innate. It is not natural, right? It is an acquired skill, I have already told you. Slide number 8. We would now just run a bit faster because we are going to the main concern, how ecology is affecting and molding our sound structures and all our language use. Slide number 7. I hope we have gone to slide number 7. Okay, so here we have some more points, how our ecology is connected to language. Okay, now, yes, slide number 8 it is actually, we should go now. Okay, slide number 8, potential threats to linguistic diversity. Teachers also have already mentioned that there are many threats, maybe natural threats, maybe man-made threats, right? Okay, so whatever the threat is, the point is that we need to fight back in order to save our language. Don't we actually, we should not be very much complacent regarding the fact that there is no danger about our Bangla language or Hindi language or English language because crores of people are using the language. No, actually, we should feel for every language because they are our brothers and sisters who are using the language. Okay, though they have a different culture, but they have the equal right to survive. Their language has the equal right to survive. So as students, as the citizens of the world, as the students of the language, we should really think about the ways how to protect all these languages which are in danger because of the calamities, natural calamities, the ecological imbalances, and other hazards created by the human beings themselves. I have here just referred to a very small report of a research. 2,400 languages were just studied, and the study revealed that almost more than 2,000 languages are at risk of extinction. Okay, UNESCO has conducted some study. Okay, there is some atlas of the world languages in danger. This is a kind of atlas. You may call it a huge dictionary about the world languages. UNESCO conducted this study, and the study revealed that out of 6,000 odd languages in the world, almost 2,500 languages are at stake, are in danger of extinction in future. Okay, and here we have another information about the languages in South America and Australia. So the study here that has been talked about, research on 2,400 languages shows that nearly half the world's languages diversity is at risk. Okay, so UNESCO results actually told us that out of 6,000 languages, 2,500 languages are at risk. But another research has pointed out that almost half the languages are in danger. And this study indicates that South America and Australia are expected to lose all. Expected is the ironical use of the word here, right? So South America and Australia are expected to lose all of their indigenous linguistic diversity. Okay, we often use the word indigenous. Students, you should know very clearly what does it mean, indigenous. That means the original residents of some land. Okay, original residents of some land. Indigenous people mean the people who are in a very small boundary who are living in their original homeland, right from the ancient time. So these are the indigenous people. In India, we are not the indigenous people actually. The tribal people may be the indigenous people. We are the descendants of the Aryan people, okay? So we are not the indigenous people. So this term is much used and we should know clearly the meaning of the word. I am addressing the students. Okay, so in South America and Australia, indigenous people and their language and its diversity, they are in danger. Why so much talk about indigenous people and indigenous language? Why? We don't talk about English, we don't talk about any other major language like German, like French, like Hindi, like Mandarin. Whenever we discuss something about the extinction of the language, okay, death of the language, endangerment of the language, always we invariably refer to the indigenous people and their language. Why? Because these indigenous people and their language, they have very limited resources and they are surviving within a very small territory, and the number of speakers are also very small, so very much susceptible. Their culture, their language are always, because they don't have resources, they don't have much exposure to the resources available in the world. Okay, so in South America and Australia, actually they are expecting to lose all their indigenous linguistic diversity. And principal threats are coming from the phenomena called globalization, diaspora, and immigration. For different reasons, actually, we can see diaspora and immigration. We have war, we have better job opportunities. Okay, so there are other calamities, right? So sometimes the land is engendered or attacked by other community. So for various political, social, social reasons, we have diaspora and immigration, and mass immigration, mass migration we have sometimes, right? Okay, so these are the principal threats. And these threats actually endanger the indigenous people's language and culture. Globalization may be a boon for us, the first world countries or the second world countries, the developed countries. Okay, they might have found globalization as a boon because it has yielded them better business opportunities, commercial prospects. That is why globalization may be a real boon for them. But for the indigenous people, what has happened with globalization to them, to their culture? Now come to the next slide, please. Slide number 9. Okay, so when the indigenous people and their language and culture, they shift from one place to the other. Okay, we have the immigration, we have the diaspora or mass migration. Then these are to the right hand side, I have put some 5 points. Language contact is the outcome, diaglossia is the outcome, bilingualism and multilingualism, substrate and superstrate languages, that means power dynamics. Okay, so that is inevitable, and the final outcome is the language shrinkage and language loss. So students, you please try to differentiate between language loss and language death. Language loss doesn't mean language death completely. Death means death, okay, full extinction. But language loss means actually loss of many grammatical, lexical, or morphological qualities, right? So we have different linguistic levels, and at any level, actually, we have the loss sometimes, okay? So the indigenous people's language, whenever they come in contact with the other superstate languages because of their diaspora, because of their mass migration, then at different levels, it may be phonetic level, it may be morphological level, it may be syntactic level. That is why I have put the different levels of the language just at the bottom of the slide. There I have just reminded you of the different linguistic levels, and my point is that whenever indigenous people's language, because of some ecological problem, environmental crisis, or man-made hazards like war or something like this, okay, so they migrate, and with migration they just are confronted with these 5 different things that I have put to the right hand side. Language contact, that means the indigenous people's language, they have to come in contact with the major languages, and within this they have to survive. This is a problem because in the outer society, in the broader society, nobody would understand their ethnic language, and they would be forced to use the superstrate language. So whenever we have actually talked about language contact, these are the 2 terms that are very much relevant. You have to understand this, my students. That is superstrate language and substrate language. Substrate, that means dominated language, minor language that is dominated naturally. It is a kind of power structure at the linguistic level. Superstrate language is the dominating language, major language. Okay. Diaglossia, what is diaglossia? Diaglossia is the situation, linguistic situation, when in different contexts people have to use 2 different languages. Okay. Bilingualism, when one person can use at least 2 languages. This is bilingualism. Multilingualism, more than 2, that faculty would be called multilingualism. And language shrinkage and language loss, I have already tried to explain what is loss. Now, the point is that when the language is dying, it cannot happen all overnight, right? So we talked about death of the language, extinction of the language, but bit by bit it happens. And the loss actually is incurred at different linguistic levels. Okay, it may start with some sound loss, it may start with some morphological category loss, it may mean the loss of some syntactical rules or some semantic quality of the language. Okay, so at the different levels actually we have the loss. What is language shrinkage? If language is not dying, okay, before death actually these are the things that languages always undergo. The language that is dying, okay, for whatever reason it may be, actually before death these things happen. We have shrinkage and loss. Shrinkage, that means it may be the reduction in the number of speakers, it may mean the less and less context in which the language will be used. Okay, if some Santal community people, okay, they stay in Kolkata, so they have least opportunity to use their tribal language. Okay, so for example, out of their 2-hour speech act time, it may be called speech act time when they are using actively the language. Okay, when they are orally using the language, it may be 2 hours per day. Okay, on an average. Out of these 2 hours, actually, they are using their mother tongue only for 10 minutes or 20 minutes when they would be spending time at home. So this kind of reduction in time of the language use, this is also to be called language shrinkage, right? And in many other aspects also, it may have shrinkage. So before death, we have language shrinkage, we have loss and all these things at different levels. What may be the levels? So at the bottom I have put it. Okay, so let us now make it faster. Now please come to slide number 10. Slide number 10 has just given some pictures where we are witnessing a very sad reality of today's world, that is the mass migration of the Palestinian people. Okay, so even today it is happening. It has been happening for a long time, for decades. It has been happening. And the question is, the maps show the pathetic reality about the Palestinian language, right? Palestinian people actually, they use the Arabic. It is the Palestinian variety of Arabic. Okay, so it is having shrinkage. It is having shrinkage because they are migrating, they are going into some other community speakers, other community of language users. That is why they are having less and less scope for using their own Palestinian Arabic. So this is a phenomenon actually that is man-made, we must say. Now the question that has been raised here in this slide, that is what happened and is happening to the language, Palestinian Arabic. What is happening? Under the impact of mass migration and under the impact of linguistic imperialism of Hebrew, actually the Israel, they are spreading their territory. Not only the territory spreading is being done by them, they are also spreading their language and culture. They are occupying lands, right? Okay, so there is politics. Maybe some countries, they are supporting Israel and some others, they are not supporting. But we are not going into politics. We would just look at the linguistic outcome, right? So what would happen because of this mass migration? This is an instance only. And numbers of communities actually, they are having this kind of mass migration, and their languages are being threatened because they are going into some other community of language users, and that is why their language is becoming the minority, the substrate language, and slowly dying out. Okay, another instance has been given from the past. It has been borrowed from Charles Withers. Charles Withers, he was a geographer actually. Okay, he invented two models: social moral model and economic development model. The three pictures on the top, just have a very close look at the maps, then I would explain. First, go to all the three pictures on the top, then three other pictures at the bottom. What is happening? We have some kind of historical progression. Progression or recession, I don't know. Okay, 1931, it was the situation. The map is showing 1961, 1971. What is happening? So the green shades, the light or heather green shade, this is the heather green color. This heather green shade is showing 80% or more of the population over 3 years. It is from Indonesia. Okay. Not Indonesia. Indonesia would be coming now. It is from Wales. Wales, the language. Okay, so Great Britain. 80% or more of the population over 3 years of age who are the active language users. Okay, তার থেকে কম বয়সী বাচ্চাদেরকে language users বলা হচ্ছে না. Okay, 80% or more of the population able to speak Welsh. In 1931, it was the largest number. Then the number has decreased, number of speakers. Then in 1971, Welsh speakers have been reduced further. Come to the bottom, please. Here, 1921, 1951, and 1971. What is the picture about all these three maps? What is the story? It is the story. Here we have the orange shade, and this orange shade means 30% or more population monoglot Welsh speakers. Monoglot. Who is a monoglot? Monoglot, who actually the speaker who speaks only one language, who can speak only one language. No second language is there for him or her. That person is called a monoglot. Okay, so what happened to the monoglots? Those people who are using one language and their one language was Welsh. So it was even more rapid decrease in the number of the Welsh speakers. Okay, down the ages. In 1921, so many people. 1951, very few, and even much fewer in 1971. So why this is happening? Okay, so there is politics. Not much beyond politics, whether there is some ecological factors or not, that actually is a question to be investigated by the researchers. But this kind of phenomena are happening everywhere in the world. Okay, now come to the story of Indonesia, where we have some direct connection to the ecology. And now, from now onwards, everything will be on ecology and language connectivity. Right? Okay, here the title of this slide is Ecology, Culture and Linguistic Diversity. Okay, it is from Indonesia.
Sorry, Conal,
Hello.
I would like to interrupt.
Yes, welcome.
It is not visible on the Google Meet. It is not. The slides are not visible. I would request the students to go to the YouTube link, and there it is visible. On the Google Meet, perhaps there is some problem. The slides are not visible. So they may go to the YouTube and they can see it there.
Okay. If they can manage, it is okay. No problem. So may I keep talking, or should I stop for some time? Right?
No, you may continue. It is just a matter of seconds. If they touch the YouTube link, they will go there.
Okay. I don't know what is happening. On my phone also, it was causing every problem. Every time it was just being disconnected, the presentation of the screen was going off. I don't know why it was happening.
Actually, we all are fumbling with these technical nitty-gritties.
Yeah.
We are not masters of these things. Actually, I am using a tab and I was not visible at the time of my speech. I couldn't understand what was happening. After the end of the speech, I could understand that I was not visible to the audience. So I would request the students to switch over to the YouTube link, and there you will be able to see the slides. Okay.
Yeah. So I hope within 20 minutes my thing would be over. Okay. So slide number 12. Okay, the slide number 12. This is a case study of Indonesian community where 128 villages were studied. Okay, they were living around the lake where they were recorded at much earlier time. Then, after some years, it was seen that the young generations who were staying there, they don't know about their past. Why it happened? So actually, it happened because of their migration. So their ancestors, they were staying at some place. The next generation, they migrated to some other place. And for some ecological crisis, of course. This thing happened because of their ecological hazards they were confronted with. So this is the study, and this is the outcome of the study, that the young generations, actually, they have lost the connection with their culture. They have lost many linguistic codes also. They don't also know where their ancestors were living and what kind of languages and language codes their ancestors were using. The young generations do not know the name of the village. Okay, what is the name of the village? The young generation don't know. And it happened because they actually very soon, now or then, they migrate to some other village. Okay, because all around this lake where these communities actually live, all around the lake there were frequent ecological crises, environmental hazards like earthquakes, tsunamis, over flooding. That is why they now and then, every month or every year, they migrate to some different places. Okay, so because of this lack of permanent habitats, they actually lose the connection to their culture, to their ancestors, to their language, to the linguistic codes and names. So they were losing continuously everything. So this kind of frequent migration would actually accelerate the process of language and culture extinction. This is for sure, because to maintain the connection is almost impossible in this context. The ecological change made some of the villages merge with each other and language change happened. Okay, so the different communities, they actually very quickly got merged with each other. That means the diversity that was lost codes because of the environmental hazards and ecological crisis, because of their rapid and frequent migrations, they got really what should I say? They got really messed up with each other. Okay, it is a kind of assimilation, random assimilation that happened, and they lost their linguistic and cultural codes and tradition. So this is the case study. It's a very interesting revelation from Indonesia. Okay, and it gives us the evidence as to how ecological crisis can really endanger one community, their culture, and their language. And they are losing their words. Next slide, slide number 13. It gives some idea how they were losing their linguistic codes. Okay, just allow me a second. I need water, please. sorry for the break. Slide number 13 has given us some instances, some examples how they are losing their linguistic codes. What may be called the linguistic codes? Okay, so this is how actually their language is being confronted with shrinkage and loss and going very close to the death. Okay, so these are the gradual processes. First, at the first step, endangerment, and that would happen for different reasons. Ecological crisis is one, other political hazards or racial hazards that maybe they are responsible to endanger one language. Okay, migration, for whatever reason it takes place, this migration, immigration, diaspora, this endangers language. Then after the initial endangerment, we have the language shrinkage, that in the scope, context, and some codes would be missing. But missing of codes would be called loss actually. Okay, so the when the scope of the language would be contracted, it would be called language shrinkage. When some code would be missing, it may be some sound, it may be some word, it may be some morphological marker. When it is missing from generation to generation, then it would be called loss, and after loss, complete extinction of the language. So these are the steps actually, right? So we better talk about endangerment, then shrinkage, and then loss, then death, extinction, right? Okay. So slide number 14, it has actually a prediction. It has a prediction offered by Yale Climate Connections, the World Bank. Okay, so this organization has made a study, or they have some observation, and this observation is really, really very alarming for us. Okay, so what is this alarm for us? According to a recent article in Yale Climate Connections, the World Bank estimates that by 2050, that means just 27 years ahead of us, right? 2050. By that time, some 216 million people would be compelled to move. 216 million people would be compelled to move because of the effects of climate change. Okay, so the climate change, the ecological crisis that we were talking about, and the World Bank actually in their article, they have made a guess that in just 27 years, 216 million people would be compelled to move from one place to the other. যেটা ইন্দোনেশিয়াতে আমরা ঘটেছে দেখেছি, ঘটতেই রয়েছে সেখানে, okay, and it would actually affect 216 million people. Although changes in climate have long been seen in the geological records, it is the rapid rate and the magnitude of climate events that are occurring right now that is of great concern to eco-linguists. Okay, so the things have started happening. The changes, all these changes have started happening. Changes in climate, okay, they have already started putting their impact on the culture and the language. Okay, so this is the article that has given us the alarm from sea level rise. What are the environmental hazards? What are the hazards actually that we must confront? And as a consequence upon this, we have to move from place to place. From sea level rise, right? Some lands would be inundated permanently. It would go under the seawater. Some lands in future it would happen. So the sea level would rise, the glaciers are melting. Okay, so many things are happening, causing all these things, triggering all these things. Okay, sea level rise, storm surges, then desertification. So the green is being lost. Okay, we are having more and more deserts. Okay, and extreme heat. So these are the things actually happening, and climate refugees soon may need to migrate from many of the small island nations and low-lying deserts located in the southern regions of the planet. Okay, so in the southern region of the planet, many lands are actually in danger to be go underwater in future. So the people would need to migrate, okay, for their livelihood, only to survive. Moreover, eco-linguists face an extreme challenge in capturing the language of such climate change. So this is really a problem. Okay, eco-linguists actually they are facing a mammoth challenge to explain everything in a scientific way, because you know this is a vast field of study. Okay, eco-linguists actually they have the very vast field of study to look upon. That is why eco-linguists they have to depend upon so many anticipations, surmises, and it is very difficult to come to any certain conclusion on the basis of the empirical evidences. Eco-linguists face an extreme challenge in capturing the language of such climate change. Okay, please let us come to slide number 15. How to promote linguistic diversity. How to promote. Very simple. There may be some measures like we have to bring the indigenous communities and their language to all these resources. Okay, we have to preserve their language. We have to celebrate our language diversity. Okay, actually we student community actually they are not aware of this importance of linguistic diversity. That is why whenever actually they come to metropolis, they actually they tend to leave behind their mother tongue. Okay, this is the phenomenon I have always come across. Even in my studenthood, I have done the same thing. This is a kind of actually. Okay, so you have to adopt mother tongue because your mother tongue also has its own beauties and grammar and diversity. You cannot cease to use it anymore. No harm if you use the standard form of the language coming to the metropolis. That is to earn more social prestige, that we can understand. But you have to use also your own mother tongue. Otherwise, diversity would be lost, and it is not very good for us. Okay, we have to preserve. All communities to be encouraged actively to celebrate the language diversity. Okay, we should celebrate our language diversity. We need to promote cultural understanding, tolerance, and respect. Okay, other cultures must be respected. Then we have to provide educational opportunities. Through education, they can be actually enlightened, they can be strengthened, they can be empowered, right, to preserve their own language and to be conscious of their own language diversity, and it's important. So education is very important. Then we have to support linguistic minorities in maintaining language and culture. So this is a reality that languages are dying, right? It is confronted with shrinkage, loss, and death. This is a given fact. This is a proven fact. Now, the question that are there in front of us, the question how to promote all these things, how to actually preserve all those languages. These are the main sections. Okay, we have to educate the communities. We have to pay respect to other communities and be sympathetic to the other communities. Then we have to expose them to the resources. Okay, and we have to use media and technology also to have our initiatives for preservation. Now, let us come to India and other cultures and their language. I would take just maximum 10 minutes more. Apurva sir, you have to wait, and I hope you won't mind. I don't know whether Apurva sir is listening to me or not. Anyway, so slide number 16.
Yes, Dr. Ber, I am here, no problem.
So please give me just
Sure, no
maximum 15 minutes more. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, language across different climates. Otto Jespersen in the book Growth and Development of the English Language, he has made a very important point. That is the pronunciation of gases. We have come to the sound, right? Sound at the different linguistic levels. Actually, we can have the shrinkage, loss, or the resultant death. And I would like to concentrate on sound system, sound loss, and the changes and alternations because of different cultures and different climates, right? Otto Jespersen, he has referred to a conference where some six eminent scientists, they pronounce the word gaseous in six different ways. What does it mean? Do you think that the eminent scientists, they don't know the standard pronunciation of this word? Why did they pronounce this word so differently? Six scientists pronounced it in six different ways. The point is the linguistic diversity, right? So those scientists, they might be using their English as a second or third language, or maybe as the first language, and their English is not always necessarily the standard British English. That means their pronunciation was guided by their culture, right? The culture in which they were embedded, in which they have their habitat. So this cultural diversity actually has triggered these differences in pronunciation, right? So culture is very important. Culture is very important. Jodi chaiten oi scientists they could have followed the standard norms of pronunciation, but they didn't do it. And it proves that they were great lovers of the linguistic diversity, right? Okay. Now come to the point of a sound effect called vowel harmony. This is not present in every language. What does it mean? Vowel harmony we have in Assamese, we have in Bangla, this vowel harmony. But we don't have in every language. What does it mean? It means that sounds, they do not behave in the same way in every language, right? Or every language is culture specific. That is why the sound effects are not the same. Okay? And at the lexical level, we can have the impact of the climate and environment. The ununiform patterns of synonyms and cognate words and hypernymus words across the cultures, across the languages. And for example, in our Bangla, we have so many diverse kind of relationship words. Nonod, Bodi, Mastuto Bhai, right? But in English, we have cousin, we have in-laws, only 2-3 terms are there. So this is culture specific, right? In English, we have so many hypernymus words for the element of ice, like frost, snow, rain, ice, etc. Whereas we have in Bangla hardly one or two, Borof, Tushar, only two. Why? Because this is the cold climate actually that has given birth to so many hypernymus words. And other example, like in English we have so many words for work, so many words. Different kinds of works have different words. But in our Bangla, anmone hata, dulki chale hata, hata is common. That means hata is the indispensable element in Bangla. But in English, just look at the excerpt from the Google. Okay, Google has given me this kind of synonymous or hypernymus words for what? Stroll, saunter, amble, okay, march, stride, troop, patrol, trek, plod, okay, so many. What does it mean? Why so? Can you explain? Really, can we connect it to culture? I guess it can be connected to the culture because walking is a kind of special phenomenon in the cold countries because many times during all the 24 hours, every minute, every time they cannot have walk because in the cold climate they have to just confine themselves to even rooms, okay, heated with the room heaters. That is why walking is a kind of celebration, occasional celebration for them. That is why they have actually invented words for different kinds of work. But in our culture, in Bengali culture, in our Indian culture, hata is a common factor, very commonplace thing. So we don't care about different words. We just add some adverb to mean something different. Dulki chale hata, anmone hata, annamanishko bhabe hata, dridho bhabe hata. This is how. Okay. So now let us come to the next slide. Let us come to the next slide. Yes, culture specific words. Culture specific words. In English, in Bangla, we have the cardinal direction word like east, west, north, south, purab, pachim, uttar, dakhin in our Indic languages. But you know, in different cultures, in other cultures, some cultures, we don't have any such cardinal direction words. They always mean direction with reference to some mountain, it may be, some temple-like construction, it may be, or some big tree with reference to the big tree, it may be, or with reference to the ocean or river bank, right? With references to all these things, they actually use their direction words. So culture-specific words. Okay, now the last few slides, this is all about vowels. Okay, so this slide number 18 is very interesting. Caleb Everett, he has found the connection between ecology and the sound system of the languages. More humidity means more vowels. More humidity, more vowels. That means how many vowels our language would have. It depends on the humidity, climate. Okay, more humidity means more vowels. Okay, so Arabian countries, they have languages actually where only 3 vowels are there, only 3 vowels. Okay, but in humid country like India, most of the Indic languages have 6 to 8, 9 vowels. 6 to 8, 9 vowels. Okay, so here we have made a comparison between the difference between Bangla and English. Okay, so this is also culture specific. In Bangla, we have more jaw opening, and J.D. O'Connor, in his Better English Pronunciation, he made a comment that English speakers, they don't open their jaws culturally in pronunciation of their words and vowels and consonants. They can even speak with a cigar or pipe in their mouth. With a pipe or cigar, they can talk. But with Bangla people, we open our mouth very widely. Okay, we have some sounds that are missing in English, and in English we have some sounds that are missing in Bangla. So these are culture specific. Okay, and in our Indic languages, central vowels are rare, very rare. Central vowels. How central vowels are rare? In the next slides, I have given you the information. Then in Bangla, we don't have word accent, only we have prominence. Okay, and in Bangla and in many Indic languages, we don't have long vowels. All vowels are short. Only some South Indian languages have long counterparts. So why English has long vowels and short vowels? Why we don't have in Bangla long vowels and short vowels? This is highly culture specific and related to climate also. Because in our country, we have heat, we have humidity, we have some comfortable climate every time. Not every, if not in every time, in most of the seasons actually, we have more comfortable climate compared to the cold European countries. That is why we move our muscles better. That is why we open our jaws more, right? We have so many vowels that are all dispersed just across the vowel plot, right? But central vowels are not there in our Indic languages mostly. So these are culture specific. So in slide number 20, so cultural diversities I have given through some maps. So I would just like to draw your attention to the point that culturally Veg people are living in this area, exact eating people. That means rice eating people. In the second map, the violet color, and in the first map, the red color. Okay, red color non-veg people. So non-veg people, they are living in the rice eating areas. And in the third map, green color indicates the ratio. What? The male-female ratio. So exactly almost the same pattern. Very interesting it is. Very interesting. That means almost in the same area, we have the green color in the third map, we have the violet color in the second map, and red color in the first map. Red color indicates non-veg people. Second map, violet color means the rice-eating people, and green color in the third map, that means very good male-female ratio. Is it coincidental? Satya sir, should we only think that it is coincidental only? very interesting point. So we have to study this kind of thing. Why actually the rice eating people, they are non-veg mostly, and why actually we have best male-female ratio in the same area? Okay, come to so there must be some connection. Actually, I have given all these things, and here I want to raise another point, that in this particular area where we have the non-veg people, where we have the rice-eating people, and where we have the best ratio male-female, exactly in this area we have the 6 or 7 vowel inventories of the Indian languages. Most of the Indian languages, like Assamese, are there. Okay, in this area, Assamese is spoken, Bangla is spoken, Oriya is spoken. So in this area, then Telugu is spoken, Tamil is spoken, Malayalam is spoken. 6, 7, or 8 vowels are there. Whereas in the central India, like the languages like Hindi or Gujarati or Rajasthani, okay, so they are beyond this region, beyond the rice eating region, beyond the best male-female ratio region. So beyond the region, all the languages have more vowel sounds. Hindi have so many. You can check in slide number 22. Okay, Hindi has so many. Then Gujarati had so many, and Rajasthani had so many. Okay, so is it coincidence only? Is it only coincidence? So this is a big question. Okay, and another socio-political phenomenon also I have seen in the same area. What is this? What is this? So in this particular rice-eating region or best male-female ratio region, in this region, we have male-dominated society and female-dominated society. This kind of distinction is there. So in this rice-eating or the best ratio, male-female ratio region, actually here we have either female-dominated society, northeastern states are highly female-dominated society. Okay, and in West Bengal, kind of balance we hope we have. Okay, and in Odisha, in other countries in this region, rice-eating region, so there we have almost the same scenario where mostly some kind of balance is there. But beyond this region, what is there? Too much male domination. Okay, so this is a very interesting revelation. With all these things, with all these possibilities, actually my talk is never conclusive because I haven't conducted any research. Rather, I have raised some points, some issues, so that we have actually more areas in mind to conduct research to have some more revelation. Thank you very much. If you have any question, you are most welcome.
Thank you very much, Kanak Babu. You just tell all about the topic, ins and out of the topic. Sir, will I take a question perhaps from a student, Somnath Mahato? He has asked a question. The question is, how does the environment cause eruption to minority language? Sir, have you heard the question? Again, I repeat. How does the environment cause eruption to minority language? This is a question from Somnath Mahato.
So environmental issues, how they trigger language loss of the minority people, right?
Yeah.
Actually, the minority people, those indigenous communities, they have little resources, right? They have little resources, they don't have much exposure, and they don't have much weapon to fight against the environmental calamities. They very easily actually depend on the broader society, broader communities, stronger communities for resources. That is why linguistically also they have to depend on this. And migration and immigration and all that, they actually have very frequently because of the limited resources. That is why they are the first target of any kind of environmental hazard, and they tend to pop up with the demands for survival to keep their language going or making it improve, progress. They could not because of their limited resources. So this much, I guess.
Okay, sir. Thank you. I hope, Somnath Mahato, you just listen to the answer of the question. Thank you very much. Next, I request our another distinguished speaker, Dr. Apurva Saha, to deliver his speech. Sir, please start.
Good evening, everybody. First of all, I'd like to thank the college principal, Dr. Dilip Kumar Panda, Professor Shatranjan Das, head of the Department of English, Moyna College, Dr. Shumit Malna, coordinator IQAC, the respected teachers from the Department of English and other departments, for allowing me the chance to speak on this webinar. I'm obviously grateful to the authorities, and I'd also, right at the beginning, thank the students who have joined for joining this seminar. I will try to curtail my speech because I have an important meeting at 9:15 today with the Center for Language and Cultural Studies of Green University of Bangladesh. So I will just curtail my speech and I will try to end up by 8:55. It means I will take 25 minutes, or at max I will take 30 minutes. And if there are any questions, I will take them just immediately after that. If Dr. Shatranjan Das allows, because I'll have to leave by 9:10 and join another meeting. I'm sorry for this haste, but there's no other way out anyway. So I directly move on to my topic, and that is endangered languages and ecology. And before that, I'd like to share the screen, my PowerPoint. Just a minute. I will just... Okay, am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And is the screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
The screen is visible.
Yes.
Yes, the skin is visible.
Okay, fine. So I'll be speaking on endangered languages and ecology. And just going to move on to the next slide. Now, it is estimated that there are almost 7,000 spoken languages in the world today. And the number of speakers means the first language speakers, native speakers of languages, vary to such an extent that it ranges from almost 1,200 million to a few hundreds, just a few hundreds. And the screen shows, and this has been compiled by Lewis and his researchers, and the screen shows that this is the list of the speakers of the world's top 10 languages. According to the number of speakers, this has been categorized, where Mandarin and Chinese, they top the list with 120 crores or 1,200 million, and Hindi and Urdu have been clubbed together with 26 crore, Bengali lying at the 7th position with around 19.2 or 19.5 crores. So this is the list of the top 10 languages of the world according to the number of its native speakers, whose L1 is this. And there are languages, I've told you, that which is spoken by only a few hundreds of people, or even less than hundreds. And David Crystal suggests that nearly 4% of the population of the world speak almost 96% of the world's languages. That means 4% of the population speak around 6,700 languages, while remaining 96% of the world population speak only in 4% of the language of the world, that is around 300, taking the figure to be at 7,000 at a round figure. So it can be very easily understood that there are many languages which are spoken by only a few speakers. And it is also feared that such languages will even lose their number of speakers for various reasons within a very short period of time. Therefore, many languages of the world are moving towards gradual extinction. Such languages which are under the threat of being extinct in near future, such languages are called endangered languages. Now, the issue of these endangered languages has come up very recently. This issue had come up in 1992 at the International Linguists Conference in Canada, where the renowned linguists of the world proposed that the UNESCO should take the leading role in preserving and revitalizing the languages of the world which are in danger of being extinct. So 1992, just 30 years have passed. So the issue of endangered languages first came up in 1992 at Canada, where the leading linguists led by David Crystal, they proposed that the UNESCO should come forward to preserve the languages. And UNESCO finally came up with the Atlas of the World's Languages in Danger in 1996. This was the first edition of the UNESCO Atlas of the World's Languages in Danger. And the second edition came up in 2001. And the third edition, which is still now the last edition, this was published in 2010. And according to this edition, that is the latest edition of the UNESCO World Atlas of the World's Languages in Danger, 2,464 languages worldwide are moving towards extinction. 2,464. This is the data from 2010. Within this period of 13 years, many more languages have become extinct. We have recently gone through the 2 years of this lockdown because of this coronavirus. And during that period also, many languages of the world have been extinct. So the figure is not obviously 2464 today. It is obviously more than that. But the official statement of the UNESCO, as per the 2010 record, is 2464. And India has 197 such languages, which are in danger of being extinct within a very short period of time, until and unless we take measures to preserve, document, and revitalize those languages. It is estimated that more than 90% of these languages means this around 2,500, I take it as a round figure of 2,500, to be more precise, 2464. Around 90% of these languages will be extinct by the end of this century. That is, within the next 70 or 75 years, 90% of these languages will die if we do not take steps to preserve them. The language that has last died in India, so for records claim, the language that has last died in India is the Bo language of Andaman. The Bo language has died with the death of Senior Bo. She was the only surviving speaker, and with the death of her, that language has become extinct in our country. As per this edition of the Atlas, this figure stands at 197. And this Atlas is available online. Anybody can check this Atlas, which very clearly shows the languages which are endangered. We can go for the country. In the Atlas, we can go for India. We can click any state, and the Atlas will show the languages. Those are on the verge of extinction. Now, the Atlas has classified these endangered languages into 4 categories. These are the 4 categories of the endangered languages classified by the Atlas. At the top is safe, and at the bottom is extinct. So I've just omitted those. These are the 4 categories of the languages which are in danger of being extinct, which are actually endangered languages. And the Atlas classifies them as vulnerable. But we see that the children speak the language, but it is restricted to domains like the home. So the children speak the language only in their homes with their family members. Whenever they step out of the home, they do not speak that language, the mother tongue. It is vulnerable. Then we have definitely endangered, but the children don't learn the language as mother tongue. The children don't learn the language as mother tongue. And naturally, if the children don't learn the language gradually die with the next generation. Then we are severely endangered, but the language is spoken by older generations, like the grandparents. The parents may understand, but do not speak to the children. The parents understand the language, but they do not speak the language to the children. Only the senior-most members of the family, that is the grandparents, they speak the language, and such languages are severely endangered. And finally, we have the critically endangered, where the grandparents or the older generations, they are the youngest speakers, and they too speak the language infrequently. That means the parents also, the second generation, they also do not speak the language. The oldest generation, they speak, but they also do not speak it frequently. The parents, they do not speak, not to talk about the children. So such languages are critically endangered. So these are the 4 categories of the languages which are in danger of being extinct. Vulnerable, definitely endangered, severely endangered, and critically endangered. In India, I have told that we have 197 languages. And the area where my university is located, that is Purulia, we have quite a few endangered languages in this area, and our Center for Endangered Languages is working on those endangered languages. We are working on Birhor, we are working on Keria. We will work, it is our proposal, it is in the pipeline, we will work on Oshuri and Paharia. So these are the 4 endangered languages that we have around Purulia, in and around Purulia. Now, how is this language endangerment related to the ecology, which is the main issue today, which is the main area for discussion today? So, how is it related? Right. Because the title of the webinar is The Crisis of Ecological Imbalance and Our Language and Culture. I'm not going into the details of eco-criticism or ecology. I will just refer to the definition by Cheryl Gottfelder, which is known to one and all, where Cheryl says that eco-criticism is the study of relationship between literature and physical environment. The study of relationship between literature and physical environment. And I will try to analyze the relationship between physical environment and endangered languages. So I'll try to focus on how the destruction of the ecosystem leads to the gradual death of languages. Gradual death of languages. Now, one of the major hypotheses of the endangered languages is related to biodiversity. One of the major hypotheses is related to biodiversity. And it has been noticed that the endangered linguistic communities, that is, those people whose language is gradually dying, those communities generally live in small groups, far away from the city or town, generally in the forest and hilly areas. Generally, those areas are inhabited. So these people, these endangered linguistic communities, they live in such areas which are rich in biodiversity. But because of industrialization, deforestation has become a very common practice. We have seen it in Purulia also. My researchers, along with myself, we have seen that how deforestation has led them to move from their original location to a different location. And because of this deforestation, these communities struggle hard to earn their livelihood from the forests. And since they basically live on hunting and other natural resources available from the hills and the forests, it's gradually become very difficult for them. So they are being forced to leave their settlement and move on to areas near the villages, near the localities. So moving away from their original location, from their original habitat, which is generally the hilly areas in the forests, which are generally rich in biodiversity, from there they are being compelled to move on to areas near the locality, just close by the village, or sometimes close by the towns. And what happens? They come in contact with the dominant language, and they're forced or compelled to adopt the dominant language for their survival. And the parents also, they do not encourage their children to speak in their mother tongue while they have migrated from their original habitat to the localities, obviously for socio-economic prospects. And theorists suggest that this displacement is one of the causes of the death of the languages. This displacement is one of the causes of the death of the languages. And obviously the cause of the displacement is because of this deforestation and other things. And one of the major causes of the displacement is the destruction of the ecosystem. Therefore, it is gradually gradually leading to the death of languages. And the dominant language is always the general tendency of devouring the minor languages. It is the common tendency of the dominant language to devour the minor languages, which is often termed as linguicide. This is a term which has been coined by Professor B.B. Kashru. He has died just a few months back, Indian-born American linguist. So it was his coinage, that linguicide, where it's the general tendency of the dominant language to devour the lesser known languages or the smaller languages. Jonathan Bate, in his The Song of the Earth, has argued that colonialism and deforestation have often gone together. Colonialism and deforestation have often gone together. And colonialism has caused the death of many indigenous languages throughout the globe, basically in Asia and Africa. Colonialism has caused the death of many indigenous languages. In India also, the colonial rule has caused the death of hundreds of languages. Many languages have died because of this colonial rule. During the colonial rule, the colonizers, they had mercilessly cut down the trees and forests to pave the way for roads and rails, to carry out their business and administration. They mercilessly felled the trees. And along with this deforestation, that actually forced a number of people belonging to the minor and indigenous languages to move to other settlements. They have been compelled, thereby rendering them not only homeless, but also almost without their mother tongue. So this has been one of the ill effects of colonialism. People have been compelled to shun their language. They had to adopt the dominant language of the locality, which gradually led to the death of their language. Now, another important thing is to be noted is that knowledge of nature is also lost because of language death. Knowledge of nature is also lost because it has been noticed that the speakers of endangered languages live in areas which are very rich in flora and fauna. And these people, they have specialized knowledge about the importance of trees and plants in the area, which is often unknown to the people outside their community. These people, they know the importance of the herbs, they know the importance of the trees, they know the medicinal value of the trees, because they treat themselves with those herbs and trees. And this knowledge is not known to people who live outside their community. And because these languages, they do not have any written form, they do not have any script. So this knowledge is transmitted orally and through experience. These people living in close proximity to nature, they had also another more important thing, which they've gained from experience. They have their own knowledge of predicting natural phenomenon by observing certain things in the agents of nature. From the agents of nature, that is, by looking at the behavior of the seas, by looking at the behavior of the trees, by looking at the behavior of the sky, by looking at the behavior of the birds and animals. And this knowledge is also not known to people outside their community. This knowledge is transmitted orally, and the wisdom dies with the death of these people because they have been forced to move away from their settlements. How do you come to know of this? This has been noticed. It was noticed during the tsunami in 2004. There was a tsunami in 2004 where Andaman and Nicobar Islands of our country was very badly affected. Very badly affected. The hotels, the airport, the the towers, all were destroyed. Many people died, many tourists died, many people went missing. But interestingly, it was noticed that there is no record of a single Jarua in the tsunami of 2004. There is no record of the death of a single Jarua in 2004 tsunami because they had moved into the mainland, much away from the seas, into the hillocks. Because they could understand, they could foresee. It is because of their own knowledge of predicting the natural phenomena by studying the condition of the seas. The students of geography, they know theoretically what is the condition of the seas before the tsunami. They know it theoretically. These people know it from their experiences, which they have got from the nature. So it was noticed that not a single Jarwa died in the tsunami of 2004. And I was referring to Bo, Senior Bo. With the death of Senior Bo, the Bo languages died. And we had Professor Anita Abbi. She is a Padma Shri, one of the most renowned linguists of the country. She had worked with the Bo community. And the lady who was the last speaker of the Bo community, she didn't have a name actually. Senior Bo is the name given by Professor Anita Abbi. Professor Abbi had given her the name Senior Bo, and she was known as Senior Bo throughout the country, the last surviving speaker of the Bo language. So this knowledge of nature, this is also gradually vanishing, or this also vanishes because the people are forced to move to different settlements. So the balance in the ecosystem should be maintained. There are various other things which we should take care of for the preservation and documentation and revitalization of the languages. We have corpus planning and status planning, but I'm not moving into those details today because I'm concentrating only on the ecological factor. So the balance in the ecosystem should be maintained so that these people belonging to these endangered linguistic communities may live in their own settlements and transmit the knowledge which they've gained down the ages, living in close proximity to nature. We should not compel them to move away from their settlements. This should be one of the steps for the preservation of language, maintaining the balance in the ecosystem. And as students of language and literature, it is our duty to preserve these languages and see that languages do not die because of ecological issues or because of my language being dominant. As a student of language and literature, it is our duty to preserve other languages also. I will have every respect for my language. At the same time, I'll respect the language of other communities, which apparently seem to be lesser known, which apparently seem to be of not that importance. But each and every language is of equal importance. Each and every language has its own features, which is as complex as every language. Therefore, we should try to preserve the languages. Students of literature should come forward and see that no languages die. Because with the death of languages, the culture dies, the identity dies. The identity dies with the death of the language. I'm sorry I had to hurry up because time is a constraint for me today. But still, I would consider the effect of this talk successful if someday I see that at least one from these students who have attended this lecture come up to study the effect of the destruction of the ecosystem of languages. Then I'll think that this talk has got some implications. Otherwise, it's no use. So I thank the authorities once again. for giving me the chance. Special thanks are obviously to Professor Nicholas, head of the Department of English, and obviously the students are patient enough to listen to me. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, Apurva Shah, sir, for his valuable speech. He told about the history of the endangered languages, categories of the languages, and how it is related to ecology. And at last, he also told, as we are the students of English literature and language, it is our obligation to preserve the language. Thank you very much again. Now I request Dr. Divan to all about the seminar. That is, you will say the concluding speech.
Now, will it be possible to take some questions?
Have any questions, sir? I have not seen the questions.
Apurva,
Yes, please.
I have a question for you. What steps are being taken to save the endangered languages in the district of Purulia?
Oh, right. I can't say the steps taken by the authorities. Obviously, the authorities have taken steps. I just mentioned a few. So, for the Kheria language is concerned, which is one of the endangered languages in and around Purulia, there is an organization which is known as Paschim Bongo Kheria Shabar Kollan Samiti, with its headquarters at Rajnagar. This association was actually formed by one of the sons of the royal family, Gopi Balak Shindeo, and now it's quite a good organization. Even Mahashada Devi was very closely associated with this organization. She used to come to the Professor Gayatri Chakravarti Spivak was also associated, rather, she is still associated with this organization. She actually funds 5 schools which are run by this organization. These 5 schools, they are actually teaching the children of this community their mother tongue. There is another school which is being run by Nirmal Shabor. He belongs to the community. He is a graduate and he runs a school. The name of the school is Shopner Schoolbari. There are some people who help him, some philanthropists who help Nirmal Shabor. He also runs a school where the children of the community are being encouraged to learn the language, learn their mother tongue. Actually, for the preservation of these languages, there are 2 steps we should be taken. One is the corpus planning and one is the status planning. So one is obviously the steps which the government would come forward. The government organizations and the local government bodies should come forward. So for this Kheria language is concerned, there is a lot of development going on. The Shabors, the Kheria Shabors, they are now quite at a good position now. The children are being taught the mother tongue. But if I take the issue of the Bidhor language, which is critically endangered, where the Bidhors are concerned, their situation is really grim. The government had taken some steps. They were provided some establishments, and they were compelled to settle at Bhupatipalli. That is the village where they have been now. Where they are now. They actually reside in 5 villages in Purulia, in Bhupatipalli, in Bararia, in Bersha, in Chotobakur and Muhurta. These are the 5 villages where they live. And so, for the condition of the Bidhors is concerned, it is really good because the government has not taken any such projects for the Bidhors. And there are a few people who are working on the Bidhors, obviously. There are a few people who are working on the Bidhors. Our university, our center is also working on the Bidhors. We are trying to document the language. We have also gone to their villages. We have visited the 3 villages. We have not yet visited Chotobakar and Kolkata. The other 3 villages we have visited. We are trying to document the languages. My researchers are there who are helping me. We are trying to document the languages and later on, if funds permit, because our center has been provided with a fund by the ICSSR to study their society, culture, and language. So such fundings are needed, and obviously the agencies are funding because we have been funded by the ICSSR to study the society and culture. So some steps are being taken. We have not yet worked on Paharia and Oshuri. This is in the pipeline. We'll be working on it at a later course of time. After we have gone through these 2 languages to some extent, then we'll extend our areas to Paharia and Oshuri. So these are some of the steps that are being taken by some individuals, by some philanthropic associations, and by the government. Dr. Das, I will clear to you.
Yes, of course. Thank you for your answer. But the situation is not much hopeful, perhaps. Only some stray attempts are there.
Exactly. It will take time. It will take time.
Yes. Any other question, Malayabu?
You have asked the same question. I have asked the questions to Apurya sir.
Yes,
how the
please.
student of English literature and language will preserve it.
Yes, please.
This is a very mammoth task, isn't it? How the students will preserve.
Could you please repeat the question?
How the students of English literature and language preserve the endangered language.
Oh, that's fine. Initially, we have to record their language. We will have to study from the level of lexis. Initial work would be to study their lexis. From there, we'll move on to morphology, and from morphology, we'll move on to syntax. So, lexis, morphology, and syntax. These are the steps of preservation. This needs to be documented, and this needs to be recorded. We have recording instruments for them. We record those things. We study the lexis, then we go for the morphology, and then syntax. So these are the 3 stages.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
Technical expertise is necessary.
Exactly. Obviously.
Otherwise, it's not possible.
Obviously, technical expertise is necessary. We need phonologists to analyze the language. We need syntacticians to analyze the syntax.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Actually, I'd also like to add here that we are at the last stage, at the final stage of entering into a move with English and Foreign Languages University, Hyderabad, mainly because to study their phonology. We are at the last stage of this motion. It's the final stage. So hopefully, this will take place within a couple of months. Everything is finalized. So that would be great help for us. So as I have studied there, my teachers will come to study the phonology. So hope we will be able to preserve their phonology also.
Thank you, Apurva, for participating in our webinar.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure.
Okay, sir.
Later, I hope that later we will meet again, and if possible, physically in our college.
Sure, obviously. And it was great to meet you after such a long time. Though virtually, but still, it was great to meet you after such a long time, after so many years.
It gives much pleasure.
Sure.
Continue now.
Now the concluding speech will be given by Dr. Digonto Ghosh. Sir, start your speech. Hello, Digantu, are you present? Hello?
Diganta Babu is present,
Present?
but sir is not responding.
He is present.
Sir, what do you do?
Okay.
Am I audible now?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay. Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Konuk Bera, the head of the Department of English of Panchkura Moyna College, for giving us a very informative and an interesting lecture on eco-linguistics and how the relationship between language and culture. And he also spoke about the relationship between ecology and language. Case study, how the ecology is established and how they in understanding Shabdikon director, Center of Endangeredness, about college laws, and he has referred to many examples. One of them being the language bow of Andaman, where the last speaker, who was referred to as Senior Bow, has died recently. It was brought to us by Professor Anvita Abi. And he has also has said that while as we speak, many other languages are also dying in the process. And I would like to add to what Professor Shah has said, that even after the death of the Bo language, another language has also died, where Licho, who was the last speaker of Sare language, has died on the 4th of April 2020. And that is the last recorded end of the language. So as we speak, endangered languages, especially in Andaman, in many of the islands in Indonesia, many of the islands in the Andaman and Nicobar, these tribes, the languages, they're all dying. And these are the result of, I understand them as to be, as Professor Dr. Bera pointed out, it is that globalization plays a very important role. And in this respect, I would like to add a point from my own, that it is actually one important aspect is our attitude towards language, that is being an hindrance towards preserving of languages, because it is not just the languages which are at the far ends, at the border lines of our society, of our attitude towards language. What I mean by attitude towards language is that because of it, is many people think of English as the furthering of their careers, their future, etc., and also a language prestige, because of which their native languages are being used less and less. This happens outside of their families. But what we note nowadays is that even within the family, even within the house, many people have abandoned speaking of their L1, and as a result, they start speaking the dominant language in some places in North India, where many speakers speak the dominant form of Hindi and not the other non-dominant forms. For example, languages in Bihar is being spoken less and less. Professor Dr. Bera pointed out to the language Welsh in Wales, where the people are speaking less and less of that language. So when somebody is speaking the less and less of one language, it means that they're actually speaking in some other language. So what is that other language? The other language is the more dominant, the more prestigious language. Now this construct of prestige is something that we have socially made up, and that is what we have put into this the ideas of socio-economic prestige into the concept of language, which is why some languages are missing out. And how do we rectify this? I think we have to, as academics, we who are in schools and colleges. I think there was a question earlier about how can the students participate in this how can they participate in preserving of languages. So to answer that, I would say that we have to begin at a very curricular level. So, and I would like to look at multilinguality as a very important aspect. What I mean by that is, at the curricular level, when we design our curriculums, we have a tendency to separate languages. The English language class frowns upon the use of the L1 of the students. And similarly, in other language classes, the use of other languages may not be allowed. So there is actually of languages, and we try to stick to the majority language. So in my opinion, the curriculum can help us if we look at the language class as a wholesome unit where we can exchange languages. And that is how, that in that way, the attitude towards the L1 of the student will change. So if a Bangla speaker can use the Bangla language in the classroom and use it with pride and without the colonial hangover that he experiences. So if we can do that, we can slowly bring about a change in the concept of linguistic diversity. And that is why I would say that would be a very good beginning for accepting the linguistic diversity in our field. For example, Dr. Bera has used in his lecture, referred to many instances of cultural peculiarities of the Bengali language in his lecture. So why can't we do that in our classrooms, even while, say, we are teaching some English text, excuse me, and use our knowledge of the language that we already have in our L1, in our exploration of other languages. So this way, I think it would be very beneficial for everyone. With these concluding words, I end my statement.
Thank you much, Dr. Ghosh, for each speech. Now we will declare the end of the program by giving vote of thanks. and the vote of thanks will be given by it. You will start. Hello. Yes.
Hello. And your voice is not audible.
Yeah, we start.
নিমাইবাবু সাউন্ড অন মিউট করা আছে বোধহয়, কিছু শোনা যাচ্ছে না।
Yes. You are audible. Yeah.
Sound is not audible.
Yes, you are audible. Bring your speech.
শোনা যাচ্ছে। কোথায় শোনা যাচ্ছে ভাই?
মানে প্রবলেম হচ্ছে নেটওয়ার্ক ইস্যু।
নিমাইবাবু, what are you doing? Nothing can be here except your lips moving.
But sir,
What are you doing?
No, I think that
Only your lips are moving. Nimayu is facing so many problems.
Yeah, yeah.
Please go ahead.
নিমায়ুর নিকাশিতে তো নেটওয়ার্ক প্রবলেম খুব।
Okay, sir.
হ্যাঁ
Acha, okay, sir. Okay. I declare the end of
Nimayu বলে চলুন, অসুবিধা কিছু নেই।
the program is
Nimayu has expressed his heartfelt gratitude to all the participants, the principal sir, all our colleagues and all our dear students. It is not audible because of network issues, but he has certainly expressed his heartfelt gratitude to all of us.
It is a silent gratitude.
Yes, sir. Thank you, everyone. We may end here.
Okay. Thank you, Nimayu.
thank you all of you. I declare the end of the event.
Okay.